Hello everyone, and welcome back to the third and final in our series about taking this truck camper that we're in on an overlanding adventure through Utah.
And Arizona, so stay tuned.
So we're on to our next adventure now. We have come south of Moab. We came down to the little town of Bluff, turned right, and we are about to drive up on Comb Wash Road. Now there's a big ridge over here to my left, and this is known as Comb Ridge. It is a very, very long ridge that goes north-south, and supposedly there are lots of petroglyphs and cliff dwellings all up on that ridge. We're kind of excited to drive this road. We're doing it partially as a bit of an adventure, but also because we had to, because the highway that you would normally take to go to Natural Bridges, the National Monument, has one of the bridges washed out, so we couldn't actually take it. So we're actually taking this road to go where we want. We're headed towards Natural Bridges, and then we're gonna head down something called the Moki Dugway, back towards Monument Valley eventually. We're excited for this adventure. We've been learning a lot about being off-road, and one thing that we learned is really critical is to air down the tires. Getting the tires to be a lot lower pressure and a lot softer really helps with being off-road, and particularly even like washboard terrain, rocks, things like that. It makes the ride a lot more comfortable for us, and it gives us more traction on the truck. So we're gonna do that and head off down this spectacularly red dirt road. So I just take our, we run a tire pressure monitoring system. I take all the tires and I just loosen them so that they start leaking air all the way around. And then I come over with my my pressure gauge here, and I just let out the air really fast in one each tire. It doesn't take very long to air down. You're gonna air down depending on really the weight that you're carrying and what the tires are designed for. We've been kind of airing down into the about like 25 PSI on the front and around 40 PSI on the rear. Because we're so heavy, the tires still drop down significantly and we get good traction on this vehicle. We could go lower, but that seems to be a pretty good level. Remember that anytime you drop air out, you have to put it back in before you drive higher speeds again. So we only take out as much as makes it feasible for us to hit the dirt. Here we go. I've actually been really excited to drive this road ever since I saw this ridge just on satellite imagery. I love just spending time on Google Earth exploring and thinking, oh, wouldn't it be cool to actually drive that little road there? Here we are doing it.
That's what we're doing.
It's a lot more red than I expected. And it is dusty. So as we started our drive along Comb Ridge, we decided to just sort of take one of these roads that just meandered off deep into Bears Ears National Monument. And these roads were really in pretty good condition. I'd say besides the occasional sand traps, where the sand gets really, really deep and you definitely need four-wheel drive to make sure you're gonna be able to get through it. The roads were in great shape, and it was just so incredibly beautiful driving out there, so remote.
And this was one of our first times on really soft sand. So this was, we were proceeding with caution, and we were so excited with how easy it was to drive through this in this vehicle with the big tires. It just floated, and it was really very smooth sailing and beautiful, like Tom was saying. on this ridge, it's just this huge straight wall just for miles and miles and miles, and it's just red and white, beautiful rock the whole way. And so you're just kind of winding along it, sometimes down into the wash, sometimes out of it and more close to the ridge. And every now and then you'd find this pocket of cottonwood trees, and since it was fall, they were bursting with color with those bright yellow leaves. It was just amazing. So we stopped at these really cool dirt piles. They have multi-colors in them, and they just look kind of unreal. And we walked up to the ridge, and it's way, way bigger than it looks from the road. So we were driving along, and it was starting to get a little late, and you probably could make the whole drive pretty quickly, but we definitely wanted to spend the night out there. So we found this little 2-track that pulled off and went down into one of these cottonwood groves with the beautiful leaves, and the sun was setting and everything was just bursting with color. It was like out of a dream. It was just so perfect. And we just parked and set up camp and settled in for the night.
It was so quiet, and the stars were just insane in this location because they're just so remote. There's no light pollution whatsoever, and we just had a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thanks for watching our videos, but there is a lot more to Morton's on the Move. For example, each week we like to find a little humor in camping and RVing and share it in a comic. Get the full collection for free by visiting the link in the description below or typing in mortonsonthemove.com/RV-comics. We got up the next morning, took our time, made some coffee. Caitlin took the dog for a hike.
Yeah, Bella and I went for a hike. I don't even think maybe you had officially gotten out of bed yet.
So what happened to Poochie?
So we were on a walk this morning. It was really nice. We were just going down the wash. Oh, and then I heard this ruckus behind me because I had her off leash. She was hanging around me really good. Heard this ruckus behind me, and I turned around and saw her kind of like picking herself up from having stumbled. And she looked at me and kind of made like a weird face, and I noticed this mark under her eye, and she basically just sliced her face up. It's really deep. And there's really no way for it to heal up nicely, so we made a run back to town.
You are so lucky you didn't lose your eye,
some
dog.
super glue to glue her face back together. So we've had a lot of wounds like this in the past with various animals, and this stuff was actually developed for use on a battlefield for really quick suturing of wounds, and it reacts with the oils in the skin, so it actually makes it very tight. And don't do that. She's trying to rub it now. And quick sealing bond to hold everything together, and it's really great for places where sutures really aren't ideal, or like in her case right next to her eye, or we don't have an appointment, stop rubbing, to get her in to a vet. So it's really nice, easy, quick, and effective way to seal up a wound. While it took a while, her face did heal up just fine. No infections, no problems. We kept it clean, so she was all good.
Super glue for the win. Like Caitlin said, it was later in the day because of Bella's little injury, so we were still on track to go out and see Natural Bridges, a national monument.
We are at Natural Bridges National Monument, and we are going to do this hike down to one of the largest natural bridges in the world, second only to Rainbow Bridge, which is down on Lake Powell. It's a very steep trail down, but hopefully we'll be in for a big reward with a view of Sipapu Bridge. I'm excited. This is gonna be hard, but I'm excited.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Gonna suck coming up. I can tell that already. But I guess it's better than trying to climb up this without him. We made it to the bottom. Check it out.
So sitting under this bridge, we've been discussing what makes a bridge versus an arch, and we might just be making this up, but this natural formation was formed by water running under it. So it actually is a bridge over
like a creek.
A creek down here, and there's a trail that you can hike and actually hike through a couple other bridges. There's natural bridges. There's more than one.
There's primarily 3 big ones in this national monument. I'm probably going to butcher the names, but they've been renamed several times, and the names that they have now are ancestral names. The one we're sitting underneath right now is Sipapu, and there's Kachina and Owachomo.
Compared to like Arches National Park, those arches were formed from just natural rain erosion and raining wind, and they kind of form like a puddle that seeps through and cracks the rock away, and it's just kind of the nature of that particular sandstone formation. This is a completely different sandstone formation. All of what we've been driving through down at Combe Ridge, Bears Ears, this, Arches, Moab, on top of Moab, Canyonlands, they're all different sandstone formations, and due to the hardness and how they erode, they create different formations. So that's part of what makes this area just so incredibly unique, is that every time you change in altitude, elevation that's been worn away, you get a completely different formation.
It's a geology nerd's dream. Or just regular nerds. So while there is a campground at Natural Bridges, we were not going to stay there. We opted to just do the scenic drive and do some of the hikes. But as you make that scenic drive and see all the main bridges, you can get a glimpse of Bears Ears, the actual Bears Ears land formations off in the distance, which is pretty cool.
Bears Ears are 2 buttes, if you will, that kind of stick up and have a big gap between them. And for the shape of them, they look sort of like Bears Ears sticking up. So kind of a neat thing to see. You can really only see them from certain locations. And Natural Bridges is a great location to see the Bears Ears.
But as happens quite a bit with us, is we kind of got a little bit caught up with wanting to see more than we actually had time for. So we ended up leaving Natural Bridges later, and we were trying to get to our next spot before sunset. So we made the drive to Muley Point, which is an amazing place.
Muley Point overlooks Monument Valley. We just hung out there for a while because it was so beautiful and such a great location. We got going a little bit later in the day to drive another really exciting piece of the road, which was called the Moki Dugway.
The Moki Dugway is this spot on this road, which is like a legit highway. But as you drive out to Muley Point, you're seeing all these signs of limits of length, limits of weight, no semis, no big trucks, no big vehicles.
It's a nice wide paved road, so you're like, what?
Yeah, what's going on here? But when you get to the edge of that cliff, the pavement goes away and it turns into a dirt road that basically goes switchbacks down this cliff, and it's all dirt and really sharp corners. And so it is not advised to drive this in a large RV.
Or trailer or
anything.
And launched the drone
Yeah.
to kind of take a look at the road ahead of time.
Yeah, we wanted to get, us driving down a few of the curves and stuff. But as Tom's launching the drone, this other guy coming up, which if you're driving a sedan or something, like the sedans are able to do it too. It's really a matter of how long you are. And this guy comes by in a sedan and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know there's a semi-truck down there. And he looks stuck. So
he looks like he's not going to make it, is what the guy said.
He looks like he's not going to make it. So you might want to have a backup plan in case you can't get through.
And the backup plan is hours of driving out of the way.
Backtracking. Mm-hmm.
And we think that's why this semi-truck decided to go for it.
And ignore all of the millions of signs that said, hey, do not do this.
So we flew the drone down and sure enough found this semi-truck creeping along on the cliffs.
It was
terrifying. We did end up winding our way down a little bit because we figured, well, we can turn around in worst case scenario. And we just hung out on the Moki Dugway for quite a while because this semi-truck, he would persistently get stuck and then be able to proceed a little bit and then get stuck. But it was the type of thing where he was not going to be able to back up. So his only direction was forward. But he made a turn and he did get very stuck.
Yeah.
So we ended up deciding, well, we can at least go down. It was pretty wide in that area.
And there were a couple other trucks right behind it that were trying to help the guy out as far as like giving him guidance of when to turn, when to give gas, when to stop.
So we decided to see if we could lend a hand, and we drove down there and proceeded to watch this guy work and work it, getting unstuck.
Eventually he did. It seemed like it took forever, but eventually he did, and he, took off down the road way too fast, in my opinion. I think he was probably trying to run away from his shame. About the prospect of having to use our winch on a semi-truck for an idiot driver.
How's driving the Moki Dugway otherwise?
Otherwise, it's fine. As long as you don't have a vehicle that is, long or super heavy. You can't make turns that are hairpins because that's what this road is. It's a steep, windy, hairpin, gravel road. Shouldn't be driven with a trailer, long vehicle, or anything that can handle that. Just so dumb.
The highway lets out near a town called Mexican Hat, which does have this little Mexican Hat rock formation, and that's what it's named for, and then proceeds immediately into the Monument Valley. But unfortunately, once again,
it was getting dark on us, so we didn't have the right view as we were driving through Monument Valley that really would have made it worth it to stop and do the photographs and all that stuff. So we decided, put a pin in that, we'll come back later, and we kept going to try to get to the next stop. So we keep saying we ran out of time and we had to keep moving because we were ultimately trying to meet up with our friends, John and Peter of the RV Geeks, in Zion to do some adventures there. So we had one more night. We decided to stop at Lake Powell near Page, Arizona.
We decided to go camp at Lone Rock Campground, which is a location that you can take right down and camp right on the beach of the lake.
So we drove around a little bit and we picked a spot with a pretty good view, and we got out and we were just kind of admiring everything when the craziest thing happened.
So that's Lone Rock back there. This isn't our first time here. We've actually, one of our first big trips together was out west. We were
2012.
Long time ago. We rented a car. We came out here, and
well, it wasn't. We didn't rent a car just to come here.
No.
We did Vegas to Grand Canyon, Zion, Bryce. Kind of did the loop, and Page was one of the places that we stopped, and we loved it here. We rented jet skis and went out on the lake, which was amazing.
We also drove down to this spot, and what's interesting is that where we were jet skiing is probably 30 feet above our heads right now.
Well, we don't know that for sure. We're gonna have to go back and look at the footage, but we remember jet skiing around Lone Rock out there, which clearly you can't do today.
No, it's pretty nuts, and just just the ledge that we're parked on right now is definitely underwater. This was not here at all. So a lot has changed. This lake seems to be drying up, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful lake.
Beautiful. Yeah. I do.
So there were these folks that lived in the area that were out on the water in their amazing water ski boat. And they were hollering to the shore to say, does anyone want to go water skiing? And we knew they weren't talking to us.
Yeah, we were probably like 50 feet further up the cliff. They probably didn't even see us at that point.
But Caitlin hollered, I'll go!
I'll go! You know, kind of just half joking, being funny. But they kind of turned back and they were like, are you serious?
These other folks don't want to go.
And we were like, heck yeah! So
water skiing's always more fun with more people.
So we jumped in the camper, put our suits on.
We hadn't even set up camp yet.
We like literally had just gotten out of the truck, and we grabbed our suits and we scrambled down the cliff, and they pulled up to the shore and we got on.
Now this was a slalom ski boat, which means skiing on one ski. And this is something that Caitlin hadn't done before.
Unfortunately.
And unfortunately, they only had one ski. So
I let Tom have all the fun.
it was almost sunset. It was incredibly beautiful. It was an incredible experience.
Yeah, we're used to like Michigan lakes and water sports, and so the aesthetic of being amongst all of those cliffs and mountains and the desert while you're out on the water, it's very surreal, and it was very fun.
Thank you so much, Bill and Laura, who took us out. And Bill, you are an incredible slow skier. I got some stuff to learn from you.
And Laura, you're an awesome driver. And then we went to Zion.
Now, Zion is another place that we've been to a couple times before. It is an incredible national park, one of our favorites by far. The views are stunning, the hikes stunning. But there was one particular hike that we'd never done before, and we were there to do that hike, which is called the Narrows.
Before we did that, however, we hiked Angel's Landing.
So that is Angel's Landing. It is something that we have hiked before many, many years ago. Unfortunately, I wasn't feeling well at the time. That combined with my terrifying fear of heights
kept him from getting all the way to the tip.
So today we're gonna be attempting it again. We'll see how it goes. It is a holiday today, so the park is busier than expected, which is not a great thing for being up there because there are some very, very tight spots, thousands of feet, cliffs. So we'll see how it goes.
Particularly on the chains section where you have to hold on and single file climb up to the top.
Fiddling. I'm nervous. Let's do it though. We are at Scout Lookout, which is I guess maybe you call it a false summit, where you kind of come to this saddle, but the real summit is up there.
That's where we're going.
That's the scary bit, so let's do it. It was incredible. I'm so glad that I made it this time, but the view at the top is so worth it. Surprisingly, I'm finding that going down isn't near as bad as going up. I think it's just because you've already done it and you know what to expect. So I also can see where you're going, whereas when you're going up, you're just looking at your hands and feet.
The next day, we went to hike the Narrows. We are going to hike the Narrows today. It's where the canyon in Zion gets really narrow, and hence the name. And you have to have dry pants and special shoes and canyoneering staff to be able to navigate up the river, because in some places it's river from wall to wall in the canyon. We are so excited to do this. It's kind of one of the quintessential things to do here in Zion, and so right now we're getting suited up. Feeling waterproof. Just got off the paved trail. We are now about to start our hike up the river. And here a lot of people stop because you need the right gear.
And you get wet.
And you get wet. So if you're not prepared for that, and this river is pretty cold, so
Here we go.
you want to make sure you have the right boots, the right pants,
The
staff, so that you don't fall, because these rocks are kind of slippery. And we're all ready to go. We've taken this little side canyon off of the main Narrows Canyon called Orderville Canyon. It goes about 0.4 miles, and supposedly there's a waterfall at the end, so we're gonna go check it out.
I think we made it to the narrowest point.
It's so dark that there's hardly any light coming in this narrow of a track.
It's the middle of the afternoon and it's like dark down here.
It's so cool.
Well, this is as far as we're going to be able to hike today. We are only day hiking, so it is an out and back hike. People can through hike this. You can actually what they call top down hike from a point that you can hike in much further north. But because it's just a day hike, we're here at the limit of the shuttle system, which currently only runs till 6 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock now. We've been hiking for, well, the whole day, but we're gonna head straight back now. It has been incredible. highly recommend hiking the Narrows.
So good to get that. Look at your foot.
It's so shriveled.
So pretty.
So after Zion National Park, we headed to a place called Kanab, Utah, where you can sign up for a lottery to hike a natural formation called the Wave. Now, if you haven't heard of the Wave, just look it up online. It is one of the most spectacular rock formations that you can really hike on. However, to preserve it, they limit how many people can go out there and hike, and you have to sign up for a lottery.
So we got up extra early this morning. It's about 8 o'clock right now, and we are here in downtown Kanab, getting ready to enter for the Wave lottery. The Wave is such a popular location, they limit the number of people to it, and one thing that you can do to try and get the lottery is you come and you wait in line, you put your number in a hat basically, and they draw for basically each group. I think they have 4 groups that they allow to go to the Wave, and you can try to get a spot online, but we tried that and we failed, so the backup is to come every single morning. John and Peter luckily have been trying already for the lottery. They've tried twice already and they haven't got it. About 57 people have showed up, so the odds are relatively slim, but we're here again this morning to see if we can make it to the Wave.
And you have to go to this gymnasium
At a certain time every morning, throw your hat in the ring and wait for them to call your number. And if you're not there when they call your number, they just go on to somebody else. So you have to physically be there in Kanab.
So we signed up and we just hung out in Kanab for day after day after day, trying to win a slot at the lottery. And you can try as many times as you want, as long as you're there in Kanab, ready to go.
And Peter was so great. He let us all sleep in most days. So, and he went in for the group to represent and to be there for the lottery. But despite all of his hard work, we did not win. And they were really hoping to share that with us because they had been able to win the lottery several years past. So unfortunately, it was a bust, but we did have fun just exploring the town of Kanab. It's a cute little town, has some great restaurants, great food, and just some really cool things all around. Some people would even say maybe even better than the Wave, but they're probably just trying to get people to, spread out a little bit.
So we're airing down for our next adventure here in the Vermilion Cliffs National Monument. We couldn't get permits for the Wave, but we heard about another area that is very similar to, and some people say just as good as the Wave, and it's called the White Pocket. It doesn't require a permit to get to, but it does require an off-road vehicle. We've heard that the sand is quite deep to get there, but we are going to attempt it today. We're very excited. It is very near the Wave. It's somewhere on top of those cliffs. We're going to give it a shot. We're super excited. Got on the road and we thought, dang, this is really not that bad. Yeah, a couple sections of soft stuff, but not that rough. We came upon a grader and we passed the grader. Now it's really rough.
Thank you.
Read what it says.
Welcome to the White Pocket. Have a wonderful day.
There we go.
There it is. That's the White Pocket.
Hit those. We made it!
We made it right at sunset. It was, the truck was definitely capable of doing it. It was just a long, slow haul. Glad to be here.
The biggest challenge, I think, was the trees.
Yeah, the overheight clearance of the rig. We definitely
Well,
pinstriped a little bit, I think.
Oh, it wasn't really height. It was just, yeah,
It
width.
just, yeah, you're gonna scrape any vehicle getting here. But I mean, we're particularly wide. So.
And that's why we bought a 20-year-old camper.
Yes, indeed. Let's check this place out.
We got in so late last night that we didn't have a chance to explore. So now that we've had our coffee and breakfast, we're gonna go check out the White Pocket. Yay!
Oh, wow. So first impressions, this place is insane. It's also a lot bigger than I expected. There are just features.
Everywhere. It's like as soon as you get around one, you see like there's 10 more. And you just keep going around curves and there's more and more and more.
It's like I call this stuff brain rock. You call the other stuff cotton candy.
Yeah. It's like frosting and candy cane and I don't know. It's really fun.
Oh, I'm loving it.
And there's so much more to explore. We've been out here, what, like hour and a half, 2 hours? And
I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
yeah, we might have to extend our stay.
Bummer. I gotcha.
was definitely one of the highlights of that entire Utah trip. Until we tried to leave.
Excited?
This isn't the first time I'm driving off-road, but it's the first time in
Deep sand.
really deep sand. So, we'll see.
Don't get us stuck.
Well, I'll try. I'll try not to.
So we decided we got in just fine, and the road was really not that bad. We went in a recommended way. However, on the way out, we used Gaia GPS, and we had seen another road, and we were like, well, that looks like a shortcut. So
because we were going up to Wire Pass, and this looked like it was going to cut off a few miles of the return trip, and we thought, hey, if the road in wasn't so bad, this way might not be so bad.
Caitlin hadn't driven the truck yet in the sand, so
I was ready to give that a try, and what we had done a few days before was totally doable, and we started out, and I don't think it would have been so bad if not for the darn pine trees.
You're doing good.
We can walk out of here faster.
the road that we decided to take out was a lot less trafficked. It was no more than a 2-track in most places. The sand was even deeper. The hills were much, much steeper.
Yep.
And the trees were not wide and trimmed at all in any way, and they just encroached on the road.
So we've been on the road for almost 2.5 hours now. Sometimes the shorter route is not the faster one. The truck is well capable of doing this trail that we've been on, but we're pushing the limits in the sand. But it's primarily the trees that have been a big problem. This road is clearly not as well utilized, and we have had to cut probably 100 branches to get through. So I highly recommend the southern route, even though it's an awful lot longer to get to the White Pocket. We also have a lot of downhill, steep, sandy sections here, so coming up this direction would be very difficult for any vehicle.
No, we're gonna need to cut some branches again.
Oh, jeez. That it was downhill, and I wouldn't recommend going that way. There you go. Hopefully this means it gets better from here out.
We went the right way, and I still don't recommend that road. We had bought a day pass to Wire Pass.
Another hike nearby that required a permit.
Yep. And so by golly, we were going to do it. And so we were racing to get there. Sun was going down. We got there. It was starting to get dark. It was starting to get cold. And we were like, you know what? We're just going to go for it. We're going to do it. We're not going to let this darn shortcut ruin our adventure.
We popped the dog in the camper, turned the furnace on, and headed out for Wire Pass.
Well, we are now hiking to Wire Pass. We grossly underestimated the time that it would take us to get here. It ended up taking us about twice as long, so we're much later than we thought we would be here. And so the sun is about to set, but we're trying to get to the slot canyon of Wire Pass just so that we can see it and do it.
We paid for permits.
We paid for the permits. It's a permitted hike. Pretty easy to get though online. We got them same day. But since we paid for it, we want to try to do it before we have to move on. So we're gonna go see what we can see.
We have lights.
And we have lights, yeah. We brought headlamps and other lights to light our way back because it is definitely gonna be dark. And we brought our hats and gloves, and hopefully we'll stay warm because as soon as that sun goes down, it gets chilly.
Just keep moving.
Just keep moving.
I think we've made it. Oh wow, I think we're gonna need our headlamps like right away.
Really?
Immediately.
Yeah, the sun's set.
Ready?
Yes.
Let's glow our way through the canyon. Whoa.
You start getting a little claustrophobic, let me know.
It's kind of narrow.
Look up. Look at there up there.
Woo.
Seepage.
Oh, look at that.
Oh my gosh, do you like feel so small right now?
It's so big. Our lights do no justice anymore. I gotta turn on my spotlight just to see anything. Look at that. It's so massive. So this is the end of Wire Pass for the most part, and it's connected with another canyon called Buckskin Gulch. And Buckskin Gulch runs all the way through the Vermilion Cliffs and out the other end. I've heard that it's one of the longest slot canyons in the world. So it's hard to see because it's so dark, but there's a slot canyon that way. That's Wire Pass. And it just keeps going that way. Wow.
Well, I honestly didn't think it was gonna be worth it to come out here in the dark, but I was wrong. This was really cool. If you get a chance to hike a slot canyon in the dark, it can be a lot of fun. Just remember to bring some good headlamps and extra lights so that you can make your way back and see what you're doing.
All right, let's wrap this day up. I'm tired.
I'm tired too. It's been a long day.
At this point, it was basically the end of our journey. We had gotten word that we had a family emergency on the East Coast and we had to leave. So filming stopped and we left from there.
Basically booked it back from there.
And that was basically the end of our journey. But overall, the whole adventure was so much fun. We got to see so much, we got to do so much, and we really got to push the truck camper, not to its limits, but we got to experience a lot about how it performs and really had a lot of fun. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on our first overlanding adventures. I hope you guys had as much fun as we did, and we will see you down the road. We don't know exactly what our next adventure is, but I'm sure we're going to be taking this somewhere interesting.
We would love to hear what you suggest, so if you want to go ahead and drop that in the comment section below, if there's any cool overland places you've been or trails we should check out, please leave those below for us to do a little bit of research on.
As always, you can learn a lot more about overlanding, RVing, solar systems, all of this stuff over on our website. We have written thousands of articles about all this content, so be sure to head over there and subscribe to our newsletter. We send out daily newsletters about our content, or also weekly with also our RV comic that we have produced every single week.
So we'll leave a link below for you to sign up for our free RV comics book and to sign up for that newsletter. So we hope we will see you guys again soon.
All right, see you down the road, everyone.
Bye.